Well, hello there, friends. Thanks for clicking on this video and joining in on what is a continuing conversation. And as I mentioned in a previous video, I've got one more wood species that I want to try making homemade black powder. And many thanks to my friend William Broken Feather. He was able to make it to the Frozen Foot Rendezvous. And he was able to take some of his precious time, drive another hour west to get the wood that I'm anxious to try. And you probably want to know what that wood is. Well, that wood is sycamore. That's what the wood is. I've got some work to do because there's a outer bark which can be peeled pretty easily. But if you look at the brown on there, try to get it in the light, that's what would be called the inner bark. And how do I know that? Well, I took some time a little bit ago and scraped off all the inner bark, and it's a white wood. Now, one of the reasons why this wood in particular piqued my interest is not only does it have a specific gravity of 0.449, this also piques my interest too. When I was learning to blacksmith in New Hampshire, the fellow that was kind of teaching me the ropes, just kind of guiding me along, at one point I had asked him, well, if you don't have coal, forging coal, what would be a good substitute? And he said that back in the day, now take this with a grain of salt because I've never tried this myself, so I'm just repeating something that may or may not be true. But we might find that out in the process of making this black powder. But what he told me is that back in the day when they couldn't get coal, sycamore was their next best choice because sycamore burns hot and it burns clean. And when we talk about wood burning clean, when it comes to forging and even forge welding, from what I was told, this wood does not ash up like, say, an oak or a maple, like when you get to that point from turning charcoal to ash. Apparently, this stuff takes a much longer time to ash up. I don't know if that's a fact or not. I'm not going to spend any time doing any research on it because whether this is good forging wood or not, I really don't care. Because we can all get coal very readily and easily today. Just go on eBay, type in forging coal, and there's all kinds of sources of, coal, bismuth coal. But my whole point is just to see what sycamore and how it will perform in a, black powder propellant. So I've got some work set aside. Obviously, I got to clean all this up, break it up, chop it up, get it charred. And when I get all of that accomplished, I'll turn the camera back on and we'll do my usual glass jar comparison from willow that we all know has a specific gravity of 0.39. I'll probably choose the cherry and the alder and just kind of compare those because we know what those specific gravities are, and we'll compare that to what the sycamore is. So as I get this accomplished, enjoy the filler material. Well, this morning at 3:45, my dogs were doing their job properly. They were informing me that there was an elk extremely close to our bedroom door. Now, my wife and I were a little concerned about this because this cow elk was standing in one spot for quite some time, and obviously when we came out to check the area, we noticed all the leaves are gone off of our plum tree. So we're pretty confident she was eating the leaves, but none of the branches are broken or anything like that. Let me backtrack for just a moment or two. So after watching them, and I say them because at first it was the mama, and within a few minutes comes the calf, and a few moments later they both headed into the direction of the alfalfa. So obviously we can see they were eating there. But let me show you what I think happiness is. So here's the alfalfa, and I'll pan this way just a little bit. That's happiness. Big old pile of elk turds. Talk about crapping where you eat, right? And a couple days ago, you know, we kind of knew they were hanging around once again, because there's another pile of it, and I'm just this close to the alfalfa bale. So it looks like on Monday, or real soon, I'm going to have to run to town and get some more alfalfa. But the interesting thing is, too, is they're not just eating the alfalfa, but they're also eating some of the cedars also. It's interesting, but that's happiness. For you pilgrims out there, I'm going to teach you how to read sign. This is clear evidence when the elk are gorging themselves. You see that green spot right there? Let me go over here and get a little closer. They're throwing it up. They're eating so much. That's how you read sign, pilgrims. So after a little bit, we managed to get back to sleep, doze off, and the dog started growling again. Well, those two elk, the mama and her calf, came back this direction, crossed the driveway, and went right back into the area where the water is. That black bucket right there that we keep full of water this morning is all but bone dry. They came, they ate, they drank, and they left. Looks like there's 4 of them out there. Yep, there's 4 of them. And as you guys can see, this is right at sunset. I've been seeing fresh sign, but I haven't been able to record them. And there you have it. Willow is on the far left, 0.39. The Sycamore is supposed to be 0.49. The Cherry is supposed to be 0.50. And I'm a little curious and second guessing myself at this point with the Cherry. And the Maple is 0.63, which is hard rock maple. I've already tested the Cherry. It shoots very fine. It's fairly clean. Got good velocities with it. But I would guess that this Cherry is probably closer to 0.60, if you would ask me. I know the camera's probably not picking up. But I will tell you, for the purpose of this, the Sycamore is the only charcoal that's absolutely filtered. I haven't filtered any of these other charcoals just simply because I didn't want to take the time to do it. Because I got 15 grams of Sycamore and that's going right into my tumbler. But I've got 2 more charcoals I want to try because my junipers are supposed to be somewhere between 48 and 50, and I have that alder, which I'm guessing now is speckled alder at 0.43. So I'm going to get rid of the cherry in the maple jar and get 15 grams of the juniper and the alder, and we'll do a comparison. Now, I don't know how well you friends can pick it up, but the willow, again with the specific gravity of 0.39, the alder at 0.43, you can kind of see they're close, but if you can really focus and see, the alder is just a little bit lower on the, as far as the level is concerned, than the willow is. All right, so let me move these back, and you can look at all four of them together. Okay, willow, moving to the right, sycamore, then juniper, and then the alder. So I would surmise, since juniper is supposed to be about 48, sycamore is supposed to be about 49, they are right in line with each other as far as that's concerned. And obviously alder with a 0.43 close to the sycamore at what is supposed to be 0.49, we can certainly see that when it comes to the potassium nitrate, 75 grams of potassium nitrate, going to be more than enough oxygen to consume that charcoal. Alrighty, enjoy the filler material while I get this mixing. So in this piece of filler material, I'm going to address a comment. And I don't recall specifically what video it was under, because, you know, when you log on to your home page, you got like that little bell thing that tells you got 9 comments. You click on them and then you read through them real quick, and that's how I became aware of this comment. But I went back on my channel to try to find out what video specifically it was. I couldn't find it, but I do remember the gist of the comment. And before I tell you that, I'll tell you where I think this comment and what video that it's related to. A little while back, I did a comparison with Swiss gunpowder, and I had taken 100 grains of Swiss, remilled it, separated the graphite, repucked it with a 12-ton jack, mind you, and I got a few more feet per second with the velocity than I did with the factory Swiss, and a whole lot less fouling. And the comment went something to the effect of, well, what does a dirty flash pan have to do with anything? Okay, so I can only surmise, because that was the only time that I've ever said anything about a dirty flash pan is when I was using Swiss. And after I had shot a couple of times, you know, I had to vent pick it, not once, but twice. And without reservation, I said this is unacceptable, and this is never going to go with me to a rendezvous. So I'm going to tell you why I feel the way I do about Swiss at a rendezvous situation. When you're doing a trail walk and you got 2 or 3 guys with you and it's your turn to shoot, and you shoot, the hammer and frizz falls, it sparks the flash pan and it goes up, but it doesn't set the main charge off. The best you're going to get is your buddy saying, more powder, and they're going to kind of mock you a little bit. It's been my experience, right? So you just take the time, vent pick it, you get up there, kapow, hey, it went off. No, that's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. Okay, if you're out deer hunting and you got a clean gun, clean frizzing, touch pan and everything else, a flash pan, and you shoot and the gun goes off, great. No problem whatsoever. This is why it's unacceptable from my experience. And my experience, or my opinion, is based on having 30 plus years at Mountain Man Rendezvous. So, here's the scenario. In Wisconsin, we were doing a trail walk, and part of that trail walk included a couple of timed events. One of those timed events was to shoot, and I don't remember if it was 6, 7, 8 targets, but it was shooting a series of targets. And your first shot, if you elected, was preloaded, ready to go, and the guy running it had a stopwatch and says, go. And you were judged in time, because this was a time event, how long it took you to shoot. We'll just say 6 targets. Imagine by the time you got to your 3rd shot with Swiss, clutch, oh, nothing. Your powder goes off in the flash pan, so now you're racing to vent, pick the hole, you put a little bit more 4F powder Swiss in there, and it doesn't go off. You know what that means? It means you go home with a big old L stamped on the top of your forehead. That's why I said it's unacceptable, because when you're in a timed event, you have to realize as a flintlock shooter, the guy coming up behind you might be shooting a percussion and he's not going to have that issue. That's why it matters. But hey, after 30 plus years experience doing this, what the hell do I know, right? What the hell do I know? Or let's just say you're on a 3-man team at a steak shoot. For those of you not familiar, you put a 2x4 on the ground and you're timed and how long it takes you to cut the steak in half. What if you're going second or third, or the second or third round, and you're shooting Swiss, and your guys, your partners are depending on your gun, your flintlock going off, and you're in a timed event steak shoot, and powder goes off, but the charge don't. You still have to vent pick, because it's your turn. Once again, not only are you going home with a big old L on your forehead, so is your shooting partners. It's unacceptable. You see, guys, when I make comments like that, it's based on experience. Not just me shooting on my bench and showing you how dirty and filthy it is. Take that comment, take that scenario and put it in a timed event at a Mountain Man Rendezvous. That means a lot. It really does. That same event, now this is my mindset. That same event where we had to shoot X amount of targets, and how long did it take you to shoot all 6 targets? That day it was raining, and I'm shooting a flintlock. So not only am I having to contend with the rain and the powder, the 4F going into my flash pan, long about the 3rd or 4th shot, because it's a timed event, I'm rushing, I mistakenly grabbed the edge of my flint and I sliced my thumb right through the muscle. The guy being the timekeeper asked me real quick, do you want me to stop the time? I says, no, you keep it going. Because if I was in a real life situation, life or death, would I stop because I sliced my thumb? Now, some of you may say that was a real stupid, idiotic thing to do. I would probably agree. But that's my mindset. If you're in a timed event, what are you going to do to win? Especially now knowing what Swiss does. In that timed event, I was actually shooting elephant, and I didn't have any problems with the gun going off or the rain interfering with my powder in the flash pan, because I was just that quick. But the thing is with that wound and that sulfur and that gunpowder and the rain getting into it, it hurt like hell. But it doesn't end there. We get done with the trail walk, and I go back into camp, and we happen to have a feller, his camp name was Tripping Turkey, and he was a nurse. So it's like, okay, I got to go seek medical attention for this. It's dirty as hell. So I walked up to Tripping Turkey and I said, is there anything you can do for this? And you know what he did? He took it and he took my thumb and opened it up. And it's like, holy crap! I talk about getting kicked somewhere and losing your breath. He opened that up. He says, nope, can't do a thing about it because it's right through the muscle. But I continued that timed event in the rest of the trail walk with that wound. That's the resolve of me when I'm at Mountain Man Rendezvous. I throw away all of this conventional crap. That's why I state, or at least stated in that video, when it comes to Swiss in a flintlock, it's unacceptable. So what would one of my do-it-yourself black powder videos be without a burn test? Now I got this block cleaned off really well, just simply because I had some little dust particles left over, and I went ahead and burnt it, and it burnt really clean. For me, surprisingly, but I want to see what 30 grains of it does and how clean it burns. So that's why this block is very clean. I have the other block that I normally use, but it's got kind of a, you know, shadow on it, so I don't want to use either side. So let's see what it does. Once again, 30 grains Sycamore. That went up pretty quick. Let's take a look at the block. All right, let's take a look at the block close up. I'll let you guys decide for yourself. I'd say that was on par with everything else that I've produced, and I will tell you, from my perspective, little to no grit whatsoever. Just wiped it off by hand, and the block's even cleaner. I'm anxious to get it in my flintlock and see what it does. Stay tuned. $18.05. Let me see if I can find the patch. I'll take a few shots and then I'll show you what the target looks like. So there's the patch. It's pretty damn clean, but that's just the first shot going down a clean barrel. I did wipe out and dry out the barrel itself, so there's no residual oil on the patch. And I am shooting Sycamore. And I'm also charging the flash pan with Sycamore, just the real fines, because I want to see how quick the flash pan goes off. But just so that you can see, it's typical. 80 grains by weight. I'm going to get loaded up and do some more shooting and see how this gunpowder performs. One last thought before I do this. It's 32 degrees out here, so for the time being, I'm going to leave my chronograph in the sun. I don't know if it'll make a huge difference, but hey, time will tell. Does that sound like that's got a little more punch than usual? From where I'm sitting and with my earplugs in, it does. Let me go mark it off and see if I can find that patch. 1716. So there's that patch. Judge for yourselves. I think it looks pretty darn good, only for the second shot. But you know, one thing that I do look at when I pick up these patches, and in particular since I'm using a spit patch, I'm looking to see if there's really any unburnt powder on the side of the patch, and to date I haven't seen any. So I'm going to get reloaded, take the third shot. Also bear in mind I'm shooting with my glasses on, so I can see the bullseye really well, but that rear sight's still fuzzy. And if I do get a delayed shot, that's because I'm loading my flash pan with just some guesswork here. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. $1,700 even. Well, there's that patch, and I would say it's getting a little dirtier for only being the third shot. But as I've said before, I don't judge how dirty or clean a gunpowder is just based on taking 3 or 4 shots, running a wet patch down the barrel, and then observing what that patch looks like, just simply because, once again, you're dealing with a charcoal, and charcoal is black and it's dirty. You could take that lump of charcoal out of a fire pit that's cold, put it on your fingers, and you don't get much on your fingers, but you put that in water and then do the same thing and your fingers are black. So that's not how I judge it. What I look for is how many shots I can get through before I actually have to clean my gun. And as I've stated before, even with GoX, I can shoot 25 consecutive shots and not have an issue with it. I'm not looking for that here, but that's just my means of measuring as it stands today as to how clean or dirty my gunpowder really is. And by the time I get done with all of this, I'll show you what the lock looks like, and if you can recall back how I complained about Swiss and how dirty it actually is. So let me get reloaded and take the 4th shot. .1707. Now that's a little weird. This one appears to be a little cleaner. Not quite sure what's going on between these two patches, but unless I jinx it, I've got a really good group going on. Get reloaded, take the 5th shot, and we'll see what I feel like doing from here on out, doing some more shooting, or as usual, got a gun to go clean. However the spirit moves me after this shot is what I'll decide to do. Stay tuned. I pulled that one. There was a bird that flew almost in front of the target as I shot. $17.59. $17.25, and that one went just a little to the right. Let me go mark it off and see if I feel like making another shot or not. That's a bit much. $17.83. Yeah, you guys can see that for yourself. 1747. Well, it's the patch for number 8. It's not really any dirtier than anything else after 8 shots. All right, I'm going to load up once again because I decided just to go ahead and get a 10-shot average. It seems to me like these numbers are kind of like leveling off a little bit. I know that first shot was over 1,800 feet, but if I was at a rendezvous, I may, with this particular gunpowder, take a fouling shot and then everything would just kind of level out. But I'm going to get loaded up and get the last 2 shots downrange. $17.72. So while I moisten up this bit patch, there's that last patch. Judge for yourselves. I don't think it's all that bad. I really don't. I'm not noticing any loading difference. Everything has been loading just as smooth as it normally does for this gun. $17.59. I forgot to mention, if I can't find where this bullet impacted, when I show you the target, you'll understand why. Stay tuned. Well, there's that 10th patch, guys. I would almost dare say that's about as clean as the first patch. Very interesting. Very interesting. Alrighty, I'll wrap this up in just a few moments over in the shop, get everything packed up, and I'll give you the 10-round average and my final synopsis, I guess, but you can be able to judge that for yourselves when you see the target. So I'll give you guys a close-up of the lock and the barrel, and I'll tell you, I did wipe the face of the frizzen twice during these 10 shots, but I never did wipe the bottom side of the flint or the top of the flint. Never cleaned out the pan or anything like that. So I'm hoping you guys can really appreciate, by just looking at this right now, why I said what I said about Swiss. This is 10 shots. Did not have to vent pick it like I did with the Swiss. And even in the flash pan, that's my homemade gunpowder with Sycamore. Judge for yourselves. Okay, let's wrap this up. I did my numbers 2 different ways. I took the 10 shot, and that average ended up being 1747.3 with a spread of 105. And the reason I decided to do it the second way is because that first shot down a clean barrel was 1805. Okay, so the high being 1805 and the low being 1700. Okay, so that's easy math to do. But redoing it with the 9 shots, throwing out that first shot at 1805, I get an average of 1740.88. Now you would expect it to be a few feet slower, just simply because I threw out that high number. And that gave me a spread of 83. I think it burnt really clean, all in all. I'm impressed with it. But here's the 10-shot target. Peekaboo. It's not bad, is it, guys? And when I said I was a little concerned about shot number 10, if it went through the middle, I wouldn't be able to find it, but shot number 10 went right here. So really, the only shot that went outside the bullseye, or didn't hit the bullseye at least, or at least the edge of it, was shot number 6. Let me see if I can get you a measurement on that. from this shot right here, which was number 7, to shot number 6, 2 1/4 inches. And that's well within my margin of sighting in a gun. I think if you've been with this channel long enough, you've heard me say that if I can get everything consistently in a 4-inch circle, I'm happy with it. Would I take this gun to a rendezvous? 100% I would. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and if you found this information of value, I hope you give it a thumbs up and share it with your bestest of buds. Bye.